Hi everyone, and welcome to my first sketchbook tour, sketchbook flip through for the sketchbook I've been working on. Started it in February 2019 and then finished it up August 2020. Do you believe in a Demimonde? So front covers are normally just stuff I doodle when I don't know what else to do or funny things I find. I found these stickers in old magazines I was throwing out when I was having to clear out. Old copies of Kerrang, so I thought that was quite funny, so I stuck them on. And then yeah, I just doodle if I'm bored and things like that. So the first few pages in this sketchbook are really old things that I was working on before. So these were portraits of the Addams family, along with the tasteful little logo there that I thought up one day. And we have Gomez and Fester. I also originally didn't date my pages, so I went through and kind of started. These are all drawings that I did probably sometime back in 2014, and then abandoned the sketchbook. Probably bought another one that I liked a little bit more than this one. This is a moleskin sketchbook, and the paper's really thin, which is good because I feel like you get a lot of distance, you get a lot of bang for your buck, but also a lot of the pages show through. That's why I normally only ever draw on one side. Again, Creature of the Black Lagoon, these are all back in 2014. Just obviously gave up on that page, abandoned that one. This is a Raven mocker, which I did for an old Inktober prompt. Probably have I managed to date these to 2014 because I can't remember when I did them. Was watching Alien one night, did a quick sketch of Sigourney Weaver, Ellen Ripley, Queen of My Heart. And a lot of these pages from earlier, from 2014, are really just experiments, so just me playing around. I wasn't really taking my art too seriously at the time, so it was just me playing, it was just me experimenting. This is obviously an Nosferatu style character, and I just went in, this is done with a biro, and I just went in and blocked in the background. I like this kind of like short stroke effect. And then this is a character who I've come back to recently, Ernest Le Vampire. He's not one of my characters. He's a character from a French cartoon, funnily enough entitled Ernest Le Vampire. And I used to watch it a lot when I was younger, and I can't even remember what channel it was on or what time. I remember it used to always just be an accident when it would come on the TV, and I was never able to watch it regularly. So I just used to get really excited when it was on, and then I had completely forgot what it was called, and spent a lot of time googling. I didn't even know it was French at the time because there's no dialogue in it. It's just Ernest in his castle, living his best life, indulging in his hobbies. So these were done with some nice coloured brush pens that I had after I had found them out when I was looking up pictures of them online. These were done with reference, and this was my like recollection as I was trying to explain it to someone one day. So it's, you know, my memory of it was clearly a lot different than the reality. This is a watercolour and pencil and a little bit of ink drawn of Fungus the Bogeyman. This one's 2015. This was done as a gift for a friend's birthday. So I did this one. I do that quite a lot normally if I don't know what to give somebody, or that I just do a little drawing of something that means something to us. I used to love looking at the Fungus the Bogeyman book when I was younger and imagining like a very strong sense of world building, that there was this world that existed underneath our world where all these characters lived, and they were living lives just like us. And just looking at that hand's terrible. Again, so here's some ideas of some stuff I was needing to do some Christmas prints. This is more old style cartoon characters. This is Simon Barson's Underdog, another cartoon. I was obviously looking into cartoons I was watching when I was younger, back in 2015. And then this is kind of when we pick up again closer to now. So this is back in 2019. Obviously I had finished whatever sketchbook I was using at the time and picked this one back up. And this is a mask that I saw in a dream once. And it was like this carved mask, and it gave like strange powers to whoever wore it. I was maybe watching Buffy before bed or something. And here's some research notes. This is about looking at Pictish symbols, which are they're an old society that existed in Scotland before the Celts, or the Picts, and there's a lot of Pictish carved stones around Scotland, and we have these symbols carved on them, and it's almost like a proto-language, but we've lost all understanding of it since then. So all we have are these kind of ideas of what the are. Things are called, like, you know, the disc and the double disc and the mirror case, but I don't think we really have any evidence that these are. I think this one's just called rectangle. So we don't know what they stood for. And I like the idea because there's this symbol that comes up quite a lot called the Pictish beast, which we don't know where it comes from or what it stands for, but it comes up quite a lot. We don't even know if it's what it's meant to be based on. So I was doing a bit of research into that. And then this is really where we pick back up, kind of here in 2020. This is a little drawing I did of the kid god character from Joan of Arcadia. I draw a lot watching TV, pop culture and things like that, and I had obviously tried to do it previously and just abandoned it halfway through. So I thought, now that, you know, my skills are developed and everything, I would maybe give another go, and I actually quite like how this turned out, even though it's just a little doodle. This is some more doodles I did for a friend. I had an idea of a logo. She was wanting to do a blog, and I had a nice idea of a logo design for her, so I did it and sent it over to her, but she didn't like it because she thought it made her look fat, which is fair. And then here we are again. This is where we pick up in May of this year. So this brings us near, I know we're technically going into September now, but this brings us kind of mostly back up to date. And this is an old print I found, Do You Believe in a Demimonde, which is from Penny Dreadful. So yeah, catching up to now. These were some sketches I did for Video Game Week for the Quarantine Watch List. I was kind of working through, I didn't really know, I'd been playing a lot of games, obviously we were in quarantine. I was working from home a lot, I couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. So I was looking at what games I'd been playing. So this is just some character sketches from Final Fantasy VIII. I tend to do this quite a lot. I just do kind of, you know, I think of something because I don't really stick to a style so much. So I'll maybe, you know, do some stuff with a reference, some stuff without. Kind of, you know, try different mediums and things. And it's really just an exercise for me in warming up my hand, an exercise for me in how would I draw these characters so that I wasn't just copying something, but there was enough identifying information. Originally I was going to do a print of Laguna and Squall, because I really like their story. I like how their relationship in the game and how they're two guys that for whatever reason can't talk about their feelings, can't relate. Here's some sketches of Waka from Final Fantasy X. Again, same kind of idea. This is done just really like an investigatory sketch from reference, just me looking at how I would, you know, the forms and everything, and then kind of taking that over and how would I represent that. I was quite constrained because I had decided that I was doing these in a really simple line art style to kind of mimic a monoprint, because I do a lot of monoprinting as well. So I was trying to kind of keep things very simple, not a lot of, you know, not a lot of texture, just really simple lines. here's some Animal Crossing, and a drawing of my character in Animal Crossing, which ended up really just looking strangely like Jenny Blanc for some reason. These are some sketches of the characters from Ni no Kuni, which I could never really quite get right. You find that quite a lot in my sketchbooks. I'm not a sketchbook for me is like a working thing, a practice thing. I don't. If I draw something and it doesn't work out, I tend not to rub it out or draw over it. I just leave it. I just don't mind. I leave it where it is, so the next time I'm looking back at it and then go, okay, well I tried that and it didn't really work, and why didn't it work? I think it's important to have evidence that the things you've tried that haven't worked just as much as the things you've tried that have. This is for Pokemon Crystal. I went back and was reinvestigating that, so I was thinking about, what would, if I was a trainer in Pokemon Crystal, what would the style be for that? So I ended up kind of going a bit like this, and I just really like Umbreon. So I decided to do a little mini Umbreon sketch. Here's some ideas for Resident Evil 1. This was done mostly with reference, because really, as much as I've played the Resident Evil games, I'm not really massively involved in the fandom. I don't really know that much about it. And I just kind of really settled down. I always play Jill, don't play Chris. I need the extra 2 pocket spaces because I'm not a planner. I don't know what I'm doing. So that we just kind of did I did a little my version of a reference sketch. This is the first zombie that you meet at the start. This is obviously Queen Lara Croft. And I did kind of like, these are some sketches I did of some other drawings that other people had done of Lara that I quite liked. But I thought, playing the early Tomb Raider games more games, most of what you see of Lara when you're playing the game is as her back, the camera's always placed behind her. So that's kind of the iconic image of her for me, just looking at the back of her head. These were some, again, just carrying over, this is just a strange dragon character. And I jot down little funny phrases I think of and phrases I hear, because I think they might come in useful for prints later on. And these are little ideas I had for little lino cut prints, based on some work in an exhibition I had done last year. And I thought about, how, because I had originally done them quite large scale, I thought, I wonder how they'd transfer into a smaller scale, and will they transfer? So I did some sketches to kind of think about that and plan that out. This is just some planning for the quarantine watch list. I'm just watching a lot of TV, watching a lot of films, playing a lot of games, and I kind of was trying to keep up with the ideas I was having for prints to do and what not to do. And you'll find there's just a lot of these kind of pages as well, which is just me, sitting down, maybe warming up one day, and I'll think to myself, okay, well, maybe I could just draw a little angel babushka lady. So I did a lot of things like that. Here's a nice sexy daddy lumberjack that I did one day. Same idea. It's just me practicing. It's just me warming up one day. I actually quite like this character, and I think I might come back to it in a little while. There's something really strange about this axe and handle here that I simultaneously love and also get really frustrated with because it doesn't actually work in reality. So there's something about that as well. This is an idea of a character I've had for a while as well. I've always been really interested in the old stories of golems from Jewish mythology, and how the Jewish mystics and the Jewish magicians would create these beings out of clay, and then their life was just purely because it was inscribed on a piece of paper. So I thought, what would be the Josh Moyer equivalent of that, and I've had an idea of these guys that are just pillars of stone. I'm probably quite inspired by a lot of the characters in Final Fantasy XII as well, which are really similar. The beings that kind of oversee world and destiny and things are really kind of designed just like chunks of stone. And I thought, well, maybe if they were brought to life by like a crystal in here or something. So I did a wee sketch and did some watercolour on it. This is a drawing of Witch Hazel from Looney Tunes, which is another thing I do. Of like, I think about these characters from TV shows and cartoons in the past, and I always think to myself, oh, you know, remember the witch that's in a couple of episodes of Looney Tunes, and so I just kind of tried to sketch them out from memory with no reference, and then I like to go back and look and see how close I got, which is normally, as you've seen by the Ernest the Vampire in the sketchbook, is normally not very close. This here was a page I did for a drawing when I was watching The Witches of Eastwick. This here's the page I did when I was watching The Witches of Eastwick. When it's, you know, Susan Sarandon, Sharon, Michelle Pfeiffer gathered around a chalice. I did start trying to really firm this up and draw it in Photoshop, but I kind of stressed myself out a little bit about it and I just left it. So I did the line work and everything and that was looking good. And then I had an idea that this chalice would kind of be glowing and it was going to be a, you know, a really stark underlight situation, which was really strange and really bizarre. And it just kind of didn't work. So I thought maybe best just leave it as it is, leave it as a sketch. And then around about here, and sometime in July 2020, I bought a new fountain pen to use for drawing. It's a Lamy Safari fountain pen, and it came with this blue ink. And normally I really don't like blue ink. But for some reason I decided to kind of keep with it and to do we do a bit of practice with it and use it just kind of to break in the pen and to practice with the pen. I haven't done any like direct ink drawing in a while. So I thought I would just hold on to it. So I did this page. I had started off with this little character here who's like kind of like a Scottish jack-o'-lantern, because in Scotland we don't use pumpkins. Traditionally we use turnips. So I thought about this cute little pumpkin kind of turnip Scottish version character. I have him here and he's got his little cheeks. So I had drawn him a couple of times and then started working through different kind of fruits and vegetables. Some of them it's really obvious what they are, and some of them not so much. I think that's meant to be a star anise. I think I got a bit left field towards the end. And this again is just a page, like if I don't know what to draw, a lot of times I'll just kind of draw little stylized skulls and things. I was playing a lot of Hollow Knight at the time, so I was doing these kind of insects and these ideas of, you know, what would I do if I was a Hollow Knight character? What kind of insect would I be and what would I look like? So I had an idea that I would be like I don't know what we call them forky tailies in Scotland. I think it's maybe like an earwig or something in the rest of the world, I don't know. So I would probably be a forky tailie because we always had lots of them in the garden when I was growing up. And then I moved on to some shrunken heads, which I did eventually move into Photoshop and kind of do a better, cleaner line art you maybe would have seen. Again, this is just more planning. There's more planning on the other side of that page as well that I don't want to show you because it's about stuff I've got coming up in the next couple of months, and I'd rather keep that a surprise. So again, this is just more ideas for quarantine watch list prints. It was probably around about here that I got really fed up doing the project and really couldn't wait on it coming to a close. So I did a lot of, you know, oh god, let's just do this one, get it done, get it over with. And then this is when I kind of started, I don't know, maybe I was just got into a really Halloween mood. Maybe I got really depressed because probably, you know, Halloween's gonna be a lot different this year. But I started doing a lot of medieval fan art. So this is the Pumpkin Witch from Medieval. Again, this is me practicing dip pens and everything. There was a little bit of a sketch underneath this one. But I just kind of went over it. I love the way that this little pumpkin head up here turned out. I love that. So yeah, I got into a real medieval mood, and there's some more sketches later on that kind of show that. But first here's just, you know, a very simple ink drawing of a devil that I liked. Sometimes things pop in my head, or I do have like a Josh's take. I think I noticed Scream Queens was online to watch on Amazon Prime, I think. And I thought, well, you know, if I had designed the mask that the killer wears in Scream Queens, what would that look like for me? So I did that. And then we just have some pages like this, which is maybe little motifs that I've drawn in other drawings that I don't want to forget. Some practice, some things, some sketches, some noses, some mouths. I think pages like this are important. Like, every page doesn't have to be just a finished drawing like this. Some people use sketchbooks like that, and that's perfectly fine, but it's not the way I work. Sometimes I just need like a sheet of paper to just work through some things, and you know, I've probably drawn like a nose or some eyes or something that I really didn't like, and sometimes I just have to remind myself that I do know how to draw them. And this is a revisit of a character I had drawn. I remember I drew it in a sketchbook back when I was in hospital, and I had an idea of this little kind of strange, almost like a ventriloquist doll, but more with a dash of realism, not as clear cut that it was a doll. And I also sometimes, when I get towards the end of a sketchbook, I leave myself little encouraging notes in the last amount of pages, because I'm terrible for getting like halfway through a sketchbook and I just abandon it and then never come back to it. So sometimes I like to leave myself little notes to keep myself going, because there's nothing better than when you get to the last page of a sketchbook and feel like you've accomplished something. And this is when I get back on my bullshit and resume the medieval fan art. So here we've got Sir Dan. This is the boiler guards from the city level. You find as well, like, I'll maybe do like a little sketch here, and maybe I don't have enough room or something, but I just kind of try and figure it out. And then the next page I kind of like iterate it a little bit and try and make it better. So, you know, we've got some shadow demons and some imps, and, you know, some of the eyes and boxes and things. I tried this Zarok. I honestly don't know what happened with that hand, but again, I just leave things so that I hopefully don't make the same mistake again. I've been having a lot of trouble drawing hands. I'm really inconsistent with my hands. Sometimes I draw them and they work out great, and then other times I draw them and they're an abysmal mess, like this one. But yeah, it's funny. I just leave it in. I think that was one of the Scarecrow characters, and that was kind of like, you know, a really simple crow I did. I never really like no shade to the people who actually worked on the game, because they know it better than I do. But I never really liked the designs of the gargoyles that sat on a hill and kind of spewed boulders at you. It always kind of seemed to me that they weren't quite rooted in realism, which I know is a ridiculous statement to make for a game that's about a skeleton that comes back to life and has to save a mythical kind of town from certain doom. But just the weight of them and everything, it always seemed like the boulders, it was always really, it kind of broke the illusion for me, because the boulders obviously just manifested. There was nothing, the gargoyles originally didn't have enough weight behind them, and it's always kind of bothered me when I play that level. So I kind of thought, well, if I'm not happy with how they've done it, how would I do it? So I came up with this little dumpy weighty guys, and they always say at the end when you beat the level, "We have failed the master, we give our lives." Because sometimes, I need to leave myself notes to remember what even I've drawn. This is the pumpkin boss. I do quite like this. I like the way that these kind of tentacles turned out. And normally I can be quite abysmal with tentacles, because sometimes I really struggle to draw two lines equidistant apart that make sense with form. But I was obviously just having a good day that day. Again, this is a Manzi. She's one of the things, and there's just some plant characters and some rune characters and things. These were more kind of just less of like a Josh Moyer take, and more just me sketching out cool things from the games that I kind of liked. Again, this is the Mad Family. I started off trying to do this without a reference, and then I realised that I didn't actually have enough of a firm memory of what they actually looked like, or were supposed to look like in their like proper forms, and not the low poly versions on Medieval in the PlayStation 1. So I did use a kind of reference for this sketch here, and just kind of threw some really simple values and things in it, because I did think about doing maybe like a nice family portrait of them when things are better. Also one night posted on Twitter that I was just drawing some really nice fan art for webcomics I used to read. I used to read Boy Meets Boy quite a lot when I was in high school. So that's two of the characters from that. And then again, I thought, well, what would I look like if I existed in there? And I really don't know what was. I must have been feeling really bad about myself. And then we moved back to the new pen. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have already seen these. There's this one and then one on the page next to it. Again, this was just me trying to exercise my way through the blue ink. And I started drawing these characters, and then I liked kind of doing these forms with them where I don't really know where it's going. I just kind of start off and do like one character and then kind of branch out. So we've got, you know, some lizards, some bat characters. I think there's meant to be some kind of dog, a beetle, and then a nice whale. And I just kind of like connecting things and seeing it where they go. I did something kind of the same here. When I was drawing this, I had kind of a feeling that maybe she was some kind of goddess character, and maybe she was the goddess of, you know, alligators, fish, lizards that look like they know way too much, and swans. So again, and these were all done. I did do a little bit of sketching on this one, because as much as I like this, I did kind of think the composition kind of got away from me a little bit. So I kind of just wanted to block in some shapes, and then I kind of waited and saw what happened with them. But I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. And then again, this is just me drawing shapes. I think like at some point up here, the blue ink finally ran out and I transitioned into a black. So this is just me again playing with the pen, having fun, coming up with characters. I had an idea that this was like some really kind of almost like a giant creature that some gods had created at one point, just to worship them. But he doesn't really, he just stumbles around the world through the clouds, praising the gods. Maybe he was having some Attack on Titan vibes that day. And then here's just some work on some characters that I was doing. I was thinking about this bank teller and this punk man, and some situations that they get themselves in. This was just me, you know, can I draw people standing at a table? And it turns out, no, not that day. So again, we have some more ideas for some situations that might be in. I kind of like this guy. He looks like some really kind of evil CEO vampire guy. I honestly don't know where he came from. He just kind of popped out the pencil ready-made, which was cool. It's a bit frustrating. I probably will never be able to draw him as well again. And then again, practicing forms, practicing shapes. I had an idea of all these eyes kind of floating in this, off the back of this piece here. I had an idea about all these eyes floating in an amorphous mass, looking at you. And this is kind of some thumbnails. I'm going to skip through this page quite quickly because this is some thumbnails for a comic I'm working on. And then I rewatched Samurai Champloo as well, and Mugen is my fave, even though he's a bit of a lich sometimes. Some more thumbnails, so we'll move on. Another thing I've been doing as well, like this, when we get to like, you know, 6 pages to go, I'm really just thinking of anything to fill pages. But something I've been doing in quarantine, especially while we've been drawing, is maybe been listening to old horror radio shows. There's a huge repository of a lot of them on YouTube, and there's some podcasts and things that play them as well, so I've been listening to them. And it's nice, it's a nice entertaining kind of thing to do. It's nice to have something on in the background while you're working, because I really struggle to work while I have TV playing. I'm not somebody that can really do that, because I either tune out with the TV show and then don't pay attention enough, or alternatively I get too drawn into it and don't do enough drawing. So it's nice just listening to a story, and a lot of the stories are so mild and predictable, and you don't really have to, you know where the story's going to go, and nothing really shocks you all that much. So I just did this kind of, I had an idea of these like kids sitting around an old kind of old-timey huge radio record player thing, listening to these stories, and I decided to kind of throw the mum in at the last moment, which is why she's intersecting here really really strangely. And I know it does kind of look a little bit like she's straddling the radio, But I think I maybe do want to kind of turn this into a more finished drawing at some point. Yeah, and I was just thinking here, maybe I could have a look at how I'd, you know, because I just really quickly kind of threw the idea down on paper so I wouldn't forget it. And I thought maybe there's a nice cool way I can kind of redesign the radio so it's, you know, if I was going to do it, how could I do it that it was still immediately recognisable that it was a radio, but maybe it was just a bit more of a cooler design. This is just a sketch. I also watched Umbrella Academy Season 2. This is a cool sketch of 5. I did just imagined him like being really angry, walking down the street and kicking rocks. And then this is kind of really just like a revisit of the God's Most Exalted Fool. Because I like to do that. I don't like just coming up with things and doing them once. I maybe think, okay, well, if I had to do it again, how would I do it again? How would I do it differently? And how would an amorphous blob look if it only had one eye? And then this is, again, just a kind of little doodle, a little sketch. I was watching Buffy Season 3. So I just kind of threw this out. I hadn't drawn my biro for a while, and I really like drawing my biro. It's it feels like you have to be confident enough to commit to the lines, but also it's really easy to get a really nice variation in line and tone in a biro. But the downside is I was using a really cheap biro and it smudged quite a lot. And then just last page was just me looking back on the sketchbook and sorted old nonsense and stuff from the COVID lockdown. Most of the work done May 2020 to August 2020. That's us.